But the front page of loads of the newspapers today is a picture of Adele, the new slimline Adele, of course, looking absolutely fantastic. And let's not forget that, of course, her biggest sin always has been that she actually lost weight. Not allowed to do that, ladies, because then you upset the fat is fit brigade. But she's got in trouble. Because she posted a photograph of herself as a long-time, born Londoner, basically celebrating the Notting Hill Carnival that didn't happen this last bank holiday weekend. She wore her lovely Jamaican flag pattern bikini. She had her hair in what's called Bantu knots, little knots on top of her head, with a big yellow feather behind her. She's now at the centre of a storm over what apparently is a controversial hairstyle and has been accused of cultural appropriation. An American journalist, Ernest Owens, who's himself black, said if 2020 couldn't get any more bizarre, Adele is giving us Bantu knots and cultural appropriation that nobody asked for. This officially marks all of the top white women in pop as problematic. Hate to see it. She has, however, been defended by Naomi Campbell and others. But what is cultural appropriation, and what right does anyone have to say that anyone else can't have a particular hairstyle or hair colour? Let's talk about this with Inaya Folarin Eman. She's a columnist at Spiked Online and founder of the Equiano Project, a project seeking to promote free speech, particularly on issues of race. Good morning to you, Inaya.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I have to say, when I see these stories, I do despair, especially when the newspapers or the online articles will talk about controversial hairstyles and things like that. There's nothing controversial about any hairstyle. We decided earlier on the show that perhaps if she'd had a swastika sort of shaved into her head, yes, that would be controversial. But sporting a particular kind of short braid, how is that controversial?
It is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it just shows the contradictions in so much of these arguments. On the one hand, we hear that, certain cultures are being marginalised and they're not getting enough attention. And then on the other hand, when certain other cultures become internationalised and we celebrate the kind of diversity of hairstyles and dress and food, that's so-called problematic. I mean, you really can't win. If we were to kind of go through every single thing in the world and find out its origins, we would never be able to do that. That's impossible. We welcome celebration of different cultures and all different people enjoying the fruits of other people.
But this is it. It's the idea that there's one culture, again, what do you mean by culture, owns a hairstyle or owns a style of food. I thought one of the people who are massively into sort of diversity of race and religion and culture, they're the people saying how wonderful it is because we can have, a wonderfully diverse culture and see people and meet with people who have very diverse appearances and the like, and eat different food and the like. And yet we're told, but we must admire it, but we must not partake of it if we've committed the terrible sin of being white and British. But what's fascinating is an American commenting on a British woman celebrating a British festival and all the culture around that, which I find utterly bizarre. And bearing in mind also that the Bantu knots are apparently an African style of hair. But what's interesting, we never seem to see the same criticism of, say, someone like Beyoncé, a black pop star who wears long blonde hair, which is, I mean, I'm sure maybe it is possible for black women to naturally have that hair. I'm not aware of that. It's not my area of expertise. I have no issue whatsoever with any hairstyle that any woman of any colour chooses to have. Not my business. Don't care. But why is it that Adele gets attacked for having a supposedly African hairstyle, but Beyoncé has a supposedly white woman's blonde hairstyle, and no one criticises her? What are the rules when it comes to controversial hairstyles?
Well, I don't think there is any rules. I think it's a self-appointed group of people that choose to be the spokesperson for the entirety of humanity and decide what is and isn't acceptable. And what they really want to do is keep people in their silos, keep people in very rigid categories. And what they say, stay in your lane, never leave the kind of category to which they kind of impose upon you. And I think what is really revealing is actually what many people have been saying for several months now, which is the dangers of importing wholesale the American racial culture wars to Britain when it's a completely different context. You know, this person clearly has no idea about the festivals and the culture and all of the different things that happen in Britain, such as Notting Hill Carnival, and has taken it upon himself to judge people when he knows nothing about it. And actually what's been very positive on this particular situation, which has been rare, is that we have seen quite a significant pushback from, as you said, Naomi Campbell. Many black Brits are saying, you don't know what you're talking about. This is completely fine. And actually, Adele grew up in London. There's nothing wrong with that.
And yet again, even the justifications for her doing it, the fact that, well, black people have said it's okay, or well, no, but she's from London, it's not. In a way, those are also problematic. She can be from sodding Switzerland for all I care. She's still allowed to have whatever darn haircut she wants. People don't own, ethnicity doesn't own a haircut. And it seems to me that the vast majority of people of whatever colour will find this bizarre. And yet we talk about it. Now, a part of me, it says, I shouldn't talk about it because I'm in a way making it more of a story by talking about it. But when it's on the front page of virtually every newspaper, and they've put it on there because they know, she is a huge star, people want to see pictures of her. The fact that the word controversial can be used about a hairstyle tells us that we do have a battle to fight. And if we don't address this and we don't call it out for what it is, which is, frankly, I think an awful lot of this is just misogynism. I really think a lot of this is just men who hate women and just want to criticise a woman for every single thing. But also, this is racism. If you're saying that a white woman can't do something because of the colour of her skin, I'm sorry, that's racism.
No, I completely agree with you. I do think it's racism. I actually think it's very dangerous because, how can we ever move forward if the only reason somebody can't do something is because of the colour of their skin? Yeah. I think that is completely stupid.
It's also what the white supremacists want us to have, isn't it? We're all playing into their hands.
Oh, exactly. You can't fight racism with racism. And this is literally what these people are promoting. And it will only lead to further division. I think whatever your culture is, whatever your colour is, if you want to enjoy something that might originate somewhere else, that is your prerogative. Feel free to do that. The more mixing and integration we have, the better, in my view.
Absolutely. Always talking sense. Inia Falarin Imam, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate you joining us.